Kobe and Buffkin, Michigan.
The Atlanta Hawks select Kobe Buffkin.
Just being here is a dream, and I'm just happy ATL is the place.
Welcome in, Hawks fans. It's your boy Bryce Willis back at it again for another Hawks video, and this time we're going to talk about the NBA draft that just concluded. We have 3 new Hawks, one not official yet, but 3 new Hawks coming to the team. And also, I think it's the start and the signal of a new regime in Atlanta. The Quinn Snyder, Landry Fields, and Kyle Korver regime was made 100% true tonight by the picks that were made. And let's go ahead and dive right into it with the first pick for the Hawks at pick 15, Kobe Buffkin from Michigan. A guy who actually got a lot of mixed reaction. I asked Twitter, like, okay, what you think about this pick? Some people thought it was terrible. Some people thought it was really good. And I think, for me, I'm on the side of I think it was a really strong pick. He's a guy who made a lot of improvement at Michigan, especially from his freshman to his sophomore year. A guy who he kind of can do everything. He can move without the ball, which is a big staple of a Quinn Snyder system. You have to start thinking, what does Quinn Snyder's system call for, and what kind of players does he want? Buffkin, he fits that. He fits exactly what he wants. He can move without the ball. He's a good defender. So, and that's obviously one area of need for the Hawks is perimeter defense. A guy who can shoot the ball as well. Not the greatest, but can shoot, and I expect that to improve at the next level. A guy who, I think people can still see a lot of untapped potential with him. And I think that, he's a guy who, what I saw a lot on Twitter was like, how is he going to help us right now? You have to also look at this Hawks roster and say, realistically, think about it like this. So Trey and DeJounte is your starting backcourt. Bogey's your backup 2, and then AJ after that. Technically, if we did have a backup point guard that wasn't DeJounte, we technically don't have one right now. It was Aaron Holiday, but he's he's an unrestricted free agent. So I think that's where Buffkin's going to come in, because he is a combo guard. He can play 2 and 1, and I think he'll be that guy where if they need to spell Trey and DeJounte, maybe even, they could do that and go with him. I think that's not out of the plan for him. And the thing is they're like, we don't need you to play 25, 30 minutes a night to help us try to win a championship. You may only play, there may be nights you don't play. There's going to be nights where we only need you to play 5 to 10 minutes. But as long as you give us effective minutes, Snyder's going to keep track of that. And when he needs somebody, he may be the first person he calls off the bench when needed. Listen, Trey and DeJounte ain't going to be all healthy all 82 games. So, or, people take, rest days. So, like, you're not going to give him opportunities to play. Plus, you also have to think about this long term. We don't know what's going to happen with DeJounte. Buffkin could be the guy to step up after DeJounte leaves. Now, what I mean by that is AJ will probably, my prediction would be if AJ will probably be the guy to step in after DeJounte if he leaves. I don't think it's going to be Bogey. I think it's going to be AJ. So then you don't have a backup point, and then Buffkin can step in, and now he's your backup point guard / extra reserve 2 if needed. And now he's in a more prominent role next year. But obviously DeJounte can move this year. We don't know. So there are opportunities for him to play. But back to his game, I think he can do a lot of good things well for this team. I think if he defends, he also can, pass. He's a good passer. So another guy who can run the offense too. Again, if Trey and DeJounte come out the game, a guy who can run the offense, a guy who can, make some things happen if needed. So all of those things, realistically, I think to me, make me feel like, Buffkin is in a really good spot. I think he, like I say, fits what Quinn Snyder wants to do. And that's really the biggest thing, is that they're going to get players in this draft. I think it's reflective of players that Quinn wants in the system he wants to run. I think sometimes we're, caught up in like, we need some impact player right now and who can witness. Like, listen, we're not the second worst team in the league. That's just when you're in the range of the Hawks, when you're one spot out of the lottery, you're getting potential starters maybe, but a lot of these guys are going to probably start in a bench role, whether that's a bigger bench role than others, maybe a starter depending on the situation. but they can still develop. You know, one thing about this coaching staff and this new regime, they're going to develop their guys. So I don't think this is a Nate McMillan. If this was Nate McMillan, I'd be absolutely scared for Buffalo. Absolutely scared because he's not going to develop him. But Quinn Snyder and his staff, they're going to develop him. So I think he's going to be ready to play when it's time. So I really do like the pick, though. I do. I know some people, like I said, are kind of iffy about it. They felt like there were other people on the board they rather have had. Cam Whitmore was a name. Obviously, he dropped because of medical issues. Obviously, because, again, with DeAndre Hunter being, kind of put out there in trade talks, like, oh, draft Cam, he can, and it's just like, listen, nothing happened. So right now you have to, you're not, because the one thing, too, also with the draft is one thing I always remind people of. You're not only building for this year, you're building for the future. You have to think about, okay, in the future, what are we wanting to do? That's the biggest thing, realistically. But then we get into the second round pick. And then in the second round, the Hawks take Seth Lundy from Penn State, a guy who I look at as a certified shooter. I know a lot of people, again, why do we take a guard? We don't need a guard. Listen, again, we don't know what the plan is for him. He definitely may be someone they're thinking we don't need him to play major minutes for us for a few years. And that like literally the second round is where you take players like that. Guys who you think have talent, but you don't need them to play at all right away. That you can give them time to sit and just get better. He will probably be in the G League more probably this year. Which is fine. I don't think that's a bad thing because you want him to play in some capacity. But I think overall, really good shooter, really stand out the combine. I think that's where he really made his money. I went back, watched some highlights of him at Penn State. All I saw was just a lot of elite shooting from him. A guy who I think can develop it to maybe more of a solid rotational guard potentially, or a 3-and-D guy potentially as well. That's obviously very valuable in today's NBA, being a 3-and-D type of player. So I think for me, the Seth Lundy pick was more of just like, hey, this is truly like, hey, we're going to develop the guy. We know he can shoot. You never know. He might see some playing time this year, obviously clean up and things like that if he's on the roster, main roster at that point, but that's okay. Like I said, not every draft pick has to be like, how can he play for us now? Got to understand, not every pick has to be like that, but he's a really talented kid, and I really like him coming out of Penn State. So I think for me, again, if I'm going on a hypothetical here, like, I guess Bogey leaves, that's your guy. Bogdanovich leaves, that's your man. Like, I don't know. Like, again, that's why I say you plan for the future. You plan for the future. You never know. Bogdanovich leaves in like 2 years. Seth Lundy may be ready to go and ready to step into that role. And that's part of building a team, especially with the new CBA. That may be how you have to do things. You have to draft players like, all right, in 2 years, this guy's contract is up and we probably don't need to re-sign him. Can we have someone in-house that we can replace him with? And this may be one of those moves right then and there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And the last guy that they traded for from Boston. Obviously, it's not finalized yet by the league because the new league year has not started yet. But Muhammad Gueye is the newest Atlanta Hawk, also a versatile big. Versatile. I've been talking about versatile bigs. Quinn Snyder loves his versatile bigs, and they got one in him. A project. Very, very raw guy. Played at Washington State. A guy who's super raw. He was on the all Pac-12 first team. Can dribble, can move, can shoot the ball a little bit. Again, future. He seemed like he popped a little bit on tape when I looked at some of the highlights. He popped a little bit. Again, a guy who I think, it's not gonna be asked to be a major contributor now. But again, with that power forward position, especially, that's the one I'm looking at. You got Jalen. Bey is technically your second power forward. Bey is a free agent after, not this season, but, he's a free agent after this season. Or I think it's the next season. I might be wrong, actually. It might be after the next season he's a free agent. But regardless of, again, if you can't re-sign Bey, you draft a guy like him, let him develop for a couple of years, G League, Summer League. If he shows you some flashes, he could be the guy to replace him. I mean, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but again, like, I could see him in 2, 3, 4 years potentially being a part of this rotation. Like, and again, that's why I'm saying, UCBA, you can't just pay guys. You may have to draft like this and think, is this a guy in 3 years, if we said we need you to take a bigger role, do we think he has the skill set to take a bigger role? And I think Muhammad's another one of those guys. And so if you see the entire draft class as a whole, Burfin will probably play the most out of all three this year, but it's not going to be a ton. I don't think Quinn Snyder is asking them, hey, I need y'all to play 25 plus minutes for me in some capacity this year. And that's okay. Like it's okay. The biggest thing I think is just seeing growth and development with the players. You want to see that with everybody. You want to continue to see, what he can do. Obviously with Buffkin, like I said, he moves really well off the ball, a good cutter. Obviously, Quinn Snyder wants more of a motion offense. So obviously he needs guys who can move without the ball. Because like I said, Quinn Snyder has said it from day one. He wants an offense where either you shoot, you drive, or you pass. He wants quick decision, boom, 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 boom. Make the defense work. Make the defense not be able to key in on you. And I think Buffkin fits what they want to do. I'm excited to see him in Summer League. I'm excited to see him and how he does in camp with the guys. And it'll be interesting to see. We still don't know what this roster is going to look like. So if they move it after DeJounte, then he might have a bigger role. But if DeJounte is still here by game one, we'll see what his role is in that situation. So overall, I mean, I'm happy with the draft. I see the plan. I see the vision. I see what they're trying to do. I know, like I said, development is not cute. It's not. Planning for the future isn't sexy, especially when you're the Hawks fan who thinks, like, oh my God, we have to figure out how can we win a championship right now. But you also have to think about your future too. Some people are going to see teams like the Suns buying everybody and just saying, screw it. But it's like, realistically, in 2 years, Suns are going to be ruined, especially if they win a championship, because you have no cap. You got to trade everybody away and you'll be a bad team probably, or an okay team. So, and listen, I know that's the price sometimes for winning, but I feel like the Hawks are just not an organization that wants to put themselves in that situation. And I don't think Tony Ressler is willing to pay max money or tax money like they are. So this is the route they're going. I'm excited for it. Let's see what happens. We'll see how things go. I'll keep up with these guys through Summer League, give you guys some updates if I can, and we'll have to see how everything works out. But it's your boy Bryce Lewis. This was your Atlanta Hawks draft recap. We'll see you next time.
My name's Kobe Buffkin, and I'm going to Atlanta Hawks. ATL.